Well, hey everybody, and welcome to week two's lecture. This week we'll be talking about the hero's journey in general. We'll look at an outline of the journey and talk about its significance to you as a screenwriter, or really to all of us as storytellers and screenwriters. So, the first thing to really um, think about with the hero's journey is that it is a structure that author Joseph Campbell kind of has teased out of myths from many different cultures over the course of his lifetime, and has written several books about this structure that seems to be present in most myths, in most mythic stories, where a journey is undertaken by a hero or a heroine, and they go through certain stages along the way. And he named each part of these journeys in his book, The Hero with a Thousand Faces. So if you become interested in this structure and learning more about it after you finish the writer's journey, you can pick up The Hero with a Thousand Faces. You can watch the video series that was done about Joseph Campbell's work called The Power of Myth. So there's a lot you can do if you get interested in this subject. On the portal, I've also posted a couple of articles about the heroine's journey, which is specific to a women's journey in myth and in story, and how it may differ from a male journey. So if you're interested in that, it's also on the portal, and it's very interesting. So I thought we'd start out by going ahead and watching a little bit of Joseph Campbell talking about his idea about the hero's journey and what exactly it was that he meant when he introduced the concept in his book, The Hero with a Thousand Faces. So let's take a look at an interview with him. And the interviewer rather, is Bill Moyers, journalist, and he is interviewing Joseph Campbell, and we'll just watch a couple of minutes where Joseph Campbell introduces some of these important concepts.
Over the last 2 summers of his life, we taped these conversations in California at Skywalker Ranch, the home of his friend George Lucas, whose movie trilogy Star Wars had been influenced by Campbell's work. We talked about the message and meaning of myth, about the first storytellers, about love and marriage, gods and goddesses, religion, ritual, art, and psychology. But we always came around to his favorite subject, the hero with a thousand faces. Why the hero with a thousand faces?
Well, because there is a certain typical hero sequence of actions, which can be detected in stories from all over the world and from many, many periods of history. And I think it's essentially, you might say, the one deed done by many, many different people.
Why are there so many stories of the hero or of heroes in mythology?
Well, because that's what's worth writing about. I mean, even in popular novel writing, you see, the main character is a hero or a heroine. That is to say, someone who has found or achieved or done something beyond the normal range of achievement and experience. A hero properly is someone who has given his life to something bigger than himself or other than himself.
So in all of these cultures, whatever the costume the hero might be wearing, what is the deed?
Well, there are 2 types of deed. One is the physical deed, the hero who has performed a war act or a physical act of heroism, saving a life, that's a hero act. Giving himself, sacrificing himself to another. And the other kind is the spiritual hero who has learned or found a mode of experiencing the supernormal range of human spiritual life, and then come back and communicated it. It's a cycle. It's a going and a return that the hero cycle represents. But then this can be seen also in the simple initiation ritual, where a child has to give up his childhood and become an adult, has to die, you might say, to its infantile personality and psyche, and come back as a self-responsible adult. It's a fundamental experience that everyone has to undergo. We're in our childhood for at least 14 years, and then to get out of that posture of dependency, psychological dependency, into one of psychological self-responsibility requires a death and resurrection. And that is the basic motif of the hero journey. Leaving one condition, finding the source of life to bring you forth in a richer or more mature or other condition.
So that if we happen not to be heroes in the grand sense of redeeming society, we have to take that journey ourselves spiritually, psychologically, inside us.
That's right. And Otto Rank, in his wonderful, very short book called The Myth of the Birth of the Hero, he says that everyone is a hero in his birth. He has undergone a tremendous transformation from a little.
Okay, so that was Joseph Campbell himself discussing a little bit about the hero and how the concept of the hero in some ways stands in for, you know, the development that we all undergo as we grow up, as we mature psychologically, and as we transform growing up. So right there, he kind of shows us, you know, just what a lot of these myths are talking about, which is the human journey and our own struggles and our own journeys, which is why I think that the writer's journey is so applicable. You know, the hero myth that Campbell's talking about, when Vogler takes it and applies it to screenwriting, it becomes extremely useful to people who are interested in telling a structured story, whether it be you're thinking more of an independent film or a Hollywood blockbuster. This is going to be a structure that works, that you can take and put just about any story into that you may be wanting to write. So it's a great help when you're trying to figure out where to put, how to lay out your story, because it's a universal, or at least Joseph Campbell believed it was a universal narrative of experience, this hero myth. Now, other people have certainly come along and, you know, voiced their concern that this may be a male-centered narrative that Campbell's talking about that doesn't acknowledge the experiences that a woman might have on her heroine's journey. So it is certainly something that if you become interested in it, you can look at the different facets and the different ways that scholars have talked about the way men and women, male and female characters in hero myths, experience the journey differently. Now, in this course, we're mainly going to use Christopher Vogler's book, The Writer's Journey, which is based on Joseph Campbell. But Vogler definitely also points out along the way places where there may be other ways to look at experience, not just through a male-dominated perspective. So there's definitely going to be opportunities as you go along to reflect on, what each stage of the hero's journey may mean for your characters, and how, really what I love about this book is how Vogler talks about how this is a reflection of our own journeys and our own experiences. Okay, so let's look at the outline of the hero's journey as Campbell and Vogler kind of sums it all up. And don't worry, I'm not just going to give you pages and pages of text. Of course, I'm going to do that, but I'm also going to give you Vogler himself talking about the way the film The Matrix fits this pattern perfectly. And so if you're familiar with The Matrix, or even if you're not, you're going to see scenes from it. We'll walk through this outline, and he talks about how all of the stages are right there in The Matrix. So the first thing, and I'm also going to try to tie this to your screenwriting and to what you're trying to accomplish this quarter in creating a 30-page script.